because at the end of the day, people make time for who they want and what they want. And sadly, people like me in wheelchairs and those of us, you know, who have other conditions are the most ignored people, not only in America, but in the world. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the newest episode of Nick Speaks, the podcast devoted to giving the disabled community a voice, where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud. I'm your host, Nicholas Comstock. You guys, before I get into today's podcast, I want to do a couple housekeeping things. If you ever want to email me, my email is nickspeaksofficial@gmail.com. If you ever want to have me come speak at your church or at your event, whether you have people with disabilities there or not, I would love to come speak for you. So email me at nickspeaksofficial@gmail.com. Plus, if you just want to reach out and just say hey, or tell me how you like the show, or tell me what you would like me to talk about, I would love to hear from you. Also, if you want to be a guest, you can email me at the same email address. And I would love to hear from any of you out there. So please feel free to email me, nickspeaksofficial@gmail.com. Also, if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcast, please give Nick Speaks a rating. Tell us what you think, and that'll help us get on the map of podcast. So please do those things. Email me if you want me to come speak for you, or if you just want to reach out and give this podcast a rating and tell your friends about it. You can also watch Nick Speaks podcast on my YouTube channel at Nicholas Comstock. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and also, tell me what you think in the comments there as well. Okay, now that we got those things out of the way, you guys, today I want to talk about something that really breaks my heart, as someone with a disabled person, and actually, as a disabled person. And actually, before I came on the air today, um, I was talking with a really good friend of mine, and I said, you know what really irritates me about able-bodied people? And they said, what's that? I said, they say they don't know how to talk to people with disabilities, but they have no problem asking us inappropriate questions about our disability. For example, I've had people ask me, hey, Nick, how do you do the deed? How do you go to the bathroom? How do you take a shower? How do you do this? How do you do that? But what I have found after asking all these inappropriate questions is that people are not really interested in getting to know the person. They just want to ask inappropriate, nosy questions that they would never ask an able-bodied friend of theirs. But because we have a disability, somehow everything we do becomes interesting, and it becomes something to gawk at. And for some people, it becomes something to laugh at. But the person behind the disability is so much more interesting. For me, I'm someone who loves to laugh and who loves to have a good time. I love food. I love to get together with friends. But more often than not, people don't want to do those things, but they will have no problem asking those inappropriate questions that they would never think of asking anyone without a disability. And it really breaks my heart, because then once we get friends, it's like, oh, we don't have time for you. But anytime you want to know how we live our daily life as a person with a disability, you have no problem asking us those questions or spending time with us, as long as you can get in our lives and be nosy a little bit. And I really find that disheartening. And it breaks my heart. I don't know what else to say about that. And then people come up and they say, "Oh, we don't know how to talk to someone like you because you're in a wheelchair." You don't know how to talk to someone like me, not because you don't know how to, but because you don't make the time or the effort to learn about me. Like I said earlier, you're just someone who wants to gawk at a person with a disability. Somehow we've become a fetish. You're more interested to figure out how we do things. I've been on more dating profiles recently than I care to uh, remember. And one of the first things I always say if I fill out a dating profile is if being with someone with a disability is a fetish of yours, just scroll right on because I'm not interested in being a fetish. I want a loving, caring, romantic relationship with someone who isn't with me, number one, because they feel sorry for me and they think I need a nurse, or because they sat and they watched smut on their computers that contain disabled people doing the deed. I'm more interested in a person who's interested in me, not some crazy idea, not some crazy disabled fetish. And I am going to talk today also about how to approach someone with a disability. And so if you're not able to watch this right now, if you're driving in your car, you might want to pull this up on YouTube later and watch it. First of all, get rid of the high pitched baby tone. For example, "Hi, Nick. How are you doing today, buddy?" First of all, I'm not your buddy. We just met. And you wouldn't talk to any of your 34-year-old non-disabled friends like that. So why are you talking to me like that? Because I'm disabled. Also, I hate the head petting. I hate that. It's really annoying. And the unauthorized touching and the rubbing of the back and the high-pitched tones, like I said before. And also, don't get on your knees to talk to me. The the only way you should get on your knees if number one you're praying and number two you're giving the Monica Lewinsky Oval Office special. Anyway, so number one, don't talk to me in a high pitched voice, and certainly don't pet me like I'm some dog. And don't get on your knees to talk to me because I don't need you to get on your knees to talk to me unless you're 8 feet tall and I'm freaking like a little piece of shrimp and you're up here touching the ceiling. And I really think people have trouble talking to people with disabilities just because that's all they're fascinated with. But find out what they like to do, find out like what they like to eat, find out what their heart is about. And if you really sit down with someone with a disability and you really say, "What do you like to do? What is your heartbeat? If you could do anything, what would it be?" Something like that. But don't go up to somebody that's disabled and ask them all these questions right off the bat. Somehow, people don't think it's a people don't think it's a problem to do that with people with disabilities. but they would never do that to someone without a disability. And it just boggles my mind. And another thing that boggles my mind as a person with a disability is the time that we do not receive from our friends that don't have disabilities. You're so busy running around doing your own thing with your non-disabled friends that you don't even have time to pick up a phone and say, "Hey, how are you doing? What's going on? Hey, do you want me to bring your favorite burger? Do you want me to bring your favorite Taco Bell item?" I'm using Taco Bell as an example because I love Taco Bell. Hey, Taco Bell, sponsor Nick Speaks. Um, but yeah, and I just told somebody the other day at my church, I said, "So when are we gonna get together and hang out?" And they said, "When I have time." And I said, "You're never gonna have the time if you don't take the time to find the time. Because at the end of the day, people make time for who they want and what they want. And sadly, people like me and wheelchairs and those of us, who have other conditions are the most ignored people in this, not only in America, but in the world. Because we are given fixed incomes, we are told we cannot get married, and, you know, some of us, like me, I've been told I'm unemployable by two states and three different counties. So it's almost like they want us to sit there with a TV, phone, and computer and just go crazy. And then when people that are not disabled see us out doing normal things, number one, it's fascinating. Number two, they want to figure out how we do those normal things. But what I'm saying is get to know us first because we're so much deeper than whether or not we can have kids or not, or whether or not we can go to the bathroom on our own. I mean, let's be honest, you're not going to go up to your best friend and be like, "Hey, how do you take a crap?" But you have no problem asking someone who is disabled or in a wheelchair that question. And it's just so crazy to me. You know, we say we've had the ADA since 1990, and as long as we can get into an area, we should be happy with that. Well, if we don't have any friends in the areas that are ADA friendly, what's the point of the ADA? We need friends, we need community. And I don't know about any of the other disabled people out there, but I certainly don't want to be used as a prop that someone can just ask questions to. How do you have sex? How do you take a shower? How do you go to the bathroom? How do you do this? How do you do that? Get to know me first. I mean, even if the person is non-disabled, you never ask them those questions. Guess what? Somebody else wipes my ass for me. Are you happy now? Like, I don't understand that. I mean, it's crazy. Also, parents teach your kids that when something embarrassing happens to someone with a disability in their classroom, if they're at school, don't shout it out for the whole class to know. I remember I had a bathroom accident when I was in school and I was in history class and I had a bowel movement. And it was embarrassing for me because I was in junior high school and that's a weird age anyway. And, you're trying to impress the girls. Of course, I knew that no girls would talk to me because at that point in my life, I had, a family member that is supposed to love and cherish me, pretty much tell me that a girl was never going to make time for me because I'm in a wheelchair and nobody wants to marry somebody that's in a wheelchair. So I had this bathroom accident at school, and I saw people end up pulling up their shirts to cover their noses because the smell was so bad. And all of a sudden, this girl was like, Nick went to the bathroom in his diaper, and it was very loud. And so I just asked the teacher if I could leave. And let me make something perfectly clear. I do not like the term diaper. I am 34 years old. I was a junior hire at the time of this incident that I'm telling you, and I didn't like the term diaper then, and I hate it now. If you're out there and you're someone who is not offended by the term diaper, good for you. But I know there are more disabled people who are more offended by it than there are who accept that term. I wear briefs. I don't wear diapers. Also, teach your kids just to go up and talk to disabled folks like they would anybody else, not with the high-pitched voice, not with the 20 questions of how you go to the bathroom, how you do this, how you do that. Ask your kids to ask them what their hobbies are. Get them included in your have your kids get your disabled kids in included in the classroom, in the playground, in other things, so that disabled kids don't feel left out. I really just wanted to share this with you guys today. And because to be honest with you, the line of I don't know how to talk to disabled people, I'm not accepting anymore because I know it's not true. Because there are several people out there who have no problem asking those inappropriate, god awful questions that we've talked about in this episode today. It's not that you don't know how to talk to disabled people. You feel awkward about talking to someone who, God forbid, looks different, sounds different, maybe you have to do something differently than you. So instead of trying to be the bigger person and covering up and dealing with your insecurity head on, you say, "Oh, I'm going to make a joke about it, or I'm just going to ask these questions. Maybe that'll break the ice." No, no, it doesn't. It infuriates us even more, and it's crazy. So stop with the inappropriate questions, people. It's nuts. I mean, there are questions that are not inappropriate you can ask, like what's your diagnosis? What do you have going on? But don't even ask that, and at least until you get to know the person. If the disabled person wants to tell you their diagnosis or how they go to the bathroom or how they get romantic, that's up to that disabled person to tell you, not for you to go ask. And not every disabled person is your buddy either. I hate it when people come up to me and they're like, "Hey, buddy, what's going on?" Well, first of all, have we had lunch yet? Because you're not my buddy until we have lunch. So keep it. I mean, you don't have to call me Mr. Comstock, but I mean, we're not friends until we have lunch, really, officially. So I'm not your buddy because you wouldn't go up to somebody that you barely know and say, "Hey, buddy, how you doing today?" Or, "Hey, bud, what's going on with you?" Talking to me like I'm 12 years old. So, yes, today on Nick Speaks, I am calling the bluff on all the able-bodied people who say it's difficult to talk to someone with a disability because it's really not, because you have no problem asking those questions. You just don't want to you just don't want to put the person's disability aside to really get to know the person. You think by asking all those questions that we talked about is giving you an opportunity to pat yourself on the back because you're like, "Yay, I talked to someone with a disability and they answered my question." Yeah, they may have answered your question, but in their mind, they're thinking, what a dumbass. That's the only thing he can talk to me about is how I have sex, how I take a shit, and how I, you know, go pee. Really? And for those of you who get upset if I curse, I'm sorry. But sometimes I just, I like to say a Sherry Shepherd phrase. If you don't know who Sherry Shepherd is, she used to host The View, and now she hosts her own talk show. And I love Sherry Shepherd. Side note, Sherry Shepherd, if you ever want to come on Nick Speaks, I would love to have you. But Sherry Shepherd says that her heart is with God, but her mouth is in the streets. And sometimes my mouth be in these streets a little too much, so I'm trying to clean it up a little bit because my grandmother's listening. I love you, Grandma. Anyway, so this idea that, you able-bodied people like to say, I don't know how to talk to people with disabilities. I don't know what to do. Yes, you do. You just refuse to do it because God forbid we talk different than you, we look different than you, and we may even get a little spastic and move around. And that's weird. And you just don't know how to handle it. So instead of dealing with something that you don't know how to handle, you ask awkward, inappropriate questions, and then you pat yourself on the back because you made someone with a disability a part of your life and you didn't ignore them, which all you did was alienate them more and make them think that you're a dumbass. That's all you really did. So, anyway, guys, stop with the inappropriate questions to people with disabilities and just get to know us outside of our disability. We would really appreciate it. I hope this episode of Nick Speaks has helped you today. I would love to hear from you guys if you're out there listening, watching, and I know many of you are because I hear from some of you each week and I love it. Again, my email is nickspeaksofficial@gmail.com if you would like to contact me about the show or coming for your speaking engagement. I would love to hear from you. And subscribe to Nick Speaks on Apple Podcast and anywhere you get your podcast. Give us a rating and let us know how we can do better here at Nick Speaks. Thanks again for watching and listening, and have a great day. Bye bye.